Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's going on, Rally? How you feeling today, man?
Do you really want to know?
No, not really. Man.
I'm sure the majority of, or shall I say, all of our listeners are just like, is this deja vu? What's really going on here, man? But anyway, we'll get into it. Let's do it, man.
It's hard to believe, man, because that win last year, actually, it was this time last year against the Bears. You and I are both in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That win felt like a loss because we barely beat the Bears 12-7, but we beat the Bears. Offense looked horrible. I think Carson had less than 100 yards. He broke his finger. Rivera goes off on the media during the press conference, says he's the guy that looked at the bleeping analytics and all this other crap. And then the NFL decides to schedule us for another Thursday night game against the Bears for whatever reason. And we just get boat raced.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, we'll jump into it, man, but it was a long day. I don't know how or what time you got home, but I was at FedEx Field for just shy of 12 hours. I locked my keys in the van when I was getting ready to go inside. And the only reason I knew is because when I went through the security gate, I go to take my keys out of my pocket and I don't got my keys. So from there, it's like, oh man, this feels like just a bad omen. The only thing I'm going to say is thank God I took a don't sleep energy before I got to the stadium at 1 o'clock yesterday and before I walked into the gates, because I would have been dragging. We had maybe 300 plus people come out there. We had 20 vets come out. We had Jason Wright show through. I mean, it was
J-Dub.
It was like old times at the tailgate, man. For a primetime game, Grant and Danny asked me to call into their show and do their Beltway Blitz. Have you ever listened to it?
I heard you on the radio. I was, believe it or not, I was still at work. When you did that, I was still at work. And I was
according
like,
to my boss, so was I.
And so, okay, well, no, I was at work.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with you because I was up at 2:25 yesterday, and I took my don't sleep after the game because, you know, as well as I do, my commute is roughly about an hour and a half. So I got in about 1 something. So I needed to have my don't sleep. That's the only way I would have been able to make it home, because I would have been all over the place trying to get home. So
yeah,
big shout out to those guys.
Huge shout out to Mike. I really appreciate it because y'all got me through the tailgate. You got me through my keys being locked in the car. And more importantly, you got me through that horrible game. So
how'd you get your keys out?
So hit up the engine company. So one of the fire trucks, they were too busy helping a bunch of people. So some of the police officers I feed up there ended up shooting them a couple text messages, and a couple of them came by. One of them had a lock kit, was able to get me out, but it was maybe 45 minutes later. And I'm just sitting there, and I found a cigar that I'd lit earlier, just sitting on the grass, like on the ground, and like the grease. I was like, man, I kind of want to light that thing up because I got nothing to do. I just sat on top of the hood of my car, just staring at the stadium. Can't believe that it was this all over again, man. And just contemplating my thoughts on what the hell we just watched over the past 4 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I listened to Doc on the way home, and with his K9s, and it's brutal, man. But Ted, you know what? We've seen this before, bro. You know, everybody. So I always make a video, pre-game, halftime, and in-game. And in my in-game, I was laughing, and people were like, "How can you laugh?" And I said, "Because I've seen this before. You know, I don't like it, but it doesn't bother me as much as it used to when I really felt it. So don't be wrong, I still feel it, but I don't let it get to me as much as it used to. And so I'm laughing, and I'm saying, well, can you believe this? Here we are. We got blown out. You wanted to wear black. We wore our black to our own funeral. Now, I will say this, a good note. My brother says he watched the game on television. He's never seen the black uniforms before. He is a Detroit Lions fan. He goes, man, those uniforms look sick. I mean, you guys look good. I wish you played as good as those black uniforms look on TV. I said, wow, bro. I said, thank you. I think, so,
Yeah.
but we've seen this before, and it's a thing where how do you fix it? What do you do? Where do you go? And a lot of people are saying, fire everyone. Well, that's not going to solve the problem. I mean, it'll make us feel good, but is that really going to solve everything? Because we know that you can't fix it all overnight. But what do you think, man?
So I hear you on we've seen this before. Here's the part where I differ from you
Okay.
because they gave us hope. They gave us hope the week prior against the Eagles. Right? We got killed by the Bills. We came back and we said that Eagles game was like a moral victory, right? It was a loss, but it didn't feel like a loss. We were supposed to lose to the Eagles, but we stood toe to toe with the NFC champs. So we go into this game and you got hope. Yes, it's a short week, right? And yes, it's the Bears who we struggled against last time, but it's the Bears. They were 0-4. They hadn't won in 346 days, right? So you've got hope. You're thinking, oh my gosh, okay, new ownership group. This ownership group has not had a chance to make any improvements with the on the field product. They've made a ton of improvements in the stands. They put these new magnometers in, just like they have at Capital One Arena. So you don't have to take anything out of your pockets anymore. You can just walk straight through, and it's so much easier. And the last primetime game, I remember last year against the Giants, I missed kickoff by 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, because the line was so long. There was no line this past week, and the stadium was full. I mean,
Oh yeah,
they've made a ton of improvements. I'm thinking, man, it's a new era. We're good. And next thing you know, I blink, and it's 24-3. I'm like, what the hell just happened? But you're thinking, okay, we're gonna rally. We're gonna come back. We're gonna do something. But they dug too deep a hole to dig themselves out. And that's just what got so frustrating. And we talked about it during the preview show earlier this week. Like Justin Fields threw 4 touchdown passes the week prior to the Broncos. And he did the exact same thing to us. But maybe shame on me for thinking that things would be different this time around. And I put on my Twitter and Insta, like, this was top 3 for me, losses at FedEx. Just considering the hope that they gave me the week prior. That's why this one stings so much more. Because, man, we've seen a ton of blowouts, and we've seen our team get our ass kicked. But to me, those teams you expected to get their ass kicked. I did not expect this ass whooping that we got.
I said to everyone, and if I said this game scares me because yes, by all intents and purposes, we should beat the Bears. However, they're an 0-4 team and they're hungry, and they're like an animal that's in the corner. They're going to come out fighting, and they're going to do any and everything they can to you to try to win, and that's what they did. I also feel as though Philadelphia tenderized us. I use that word a lot. Philadelphia tenderized us just enough for Chicago. We were on an adrenaline high with Philadelphia, and we took an L, and so now we had an adrenaline dump. But we thought that because they were the Bears 0-4, that they'll be a walkover team, and we've seen to where it was similar with Dallas and Arizona. Dallas thought that Arizona was a nobody team because they hadn't won anything and they looked past them. And Arizona beat the Cowboys. And so here we are with our squad. And I feel as though I could be wrong, but I feel as though we looked past them and just thought because they were 0-4 that they weren't going to be anything to mess with. But if you watch the week prior to them playing against Denver, they looked the exact same way with Denver as they did to us, except Denver found a way to pull it out. We didn't.
Yeah, the thing is, You think of an 0-4 team, you think of a winless team, you think of desperate plays, you think of a punt fake, you think of a halfback pass, you think of a flea flicker. They're pulling out all the stops to beat your ass, right? Because they're desperate. The Bears didn't play desperate. They didn't do any of that stuff. They just beat us on good old regular football. They were gashing us up the middle for 7 yards, where the strength of our defense is right up the middle for 7 yards. We were going in with 5 defensive linemen, and they were running right through them, man. And that's the part that just drives me the craziest. I would be okay if they were that desperate team, hungry with their backs pinned in a corner, and all of a sudden they beat us on some long halfback option pass, and Justin Fields is running down the sideline, and you had no idea. It was like a play from The Replacements. And next thing you know, Keanu Reeves is running down to catch that ball. But nah, man, it wasn't even, it was Benjamin St. Juice getting burned on a double move. It was DJ Moore turning into AJ Brown and torching us for 3 touchdowns.
But that goes to what I'm saying as far as we didn't play them hard or as hard as we possibly could have, because mentally they're just the Bears. You make those mental mistakes. And so in my mind, you made a statement, our front 4, our front 5. No, we're not as good as everyone says we are, especially in our linebacker, and it's coming back to bite us. It's coming back to bite us, and I don't know who we have on the squad who can maybe, I'm not going to say replace uh Jamin and Barton. I'm not saying place both of them at the same time, but you got to figure out a rotation to get one of them out at a time and put somebody else in and see what they can do. I mean, because it's just not going to get done. And we've seen it time and time again. And as you said, they gas us up the middle. Well, if your front 4 aren't getting it done, that's where that second layer of defense, if you will, that linebacker's got to step up, and he's got to help you out. And if he isn't, you'll get burnt or torched or whatever name you want to use, adjective you want to use, and there it is. And so we saw it. And what bothers me the most, Ted, out of all this, man, is this. You've asked the fan base to support you. And for the most part, it's like your relationship. You got hypothetically, you got caught cheating with your girl, right? And your girls, you do everything in your power to say, I'm not gonna do it again. And you get her back. That's how I feel with the fan base. The fan base had left. We're like, man, screw you guys. And now here you see we've got a 3rd sellout. The fan base came back, and you guys did it to us again. And we're tired of that. So at some point in time, something's got to change. You know, we got outscored 77-23 in back-to-back games. Can you believe that? We ended their 14-game losing streak on national television. That's what hurts me, bro. The whole world was watching.
Oh yeah.
Nobody had any. They had nothing to do last night but sit back and just see what the Manders, as they say, were all about. And they saw it.
I had people that I didn't even think had my phone number anymore that are texting me during the game, right? And I put my phone on Do Not Disturb after a while, because at a certain point, I was going to go off on somebody just for it's like, why are you bugging me? You know I'm here right now. But this is actually a stat from our boys that ref the district. In the Ron Rivera era, Washington has trailed or been tied at halftime 41 of 56 games, which is 73%. Ron has coached 56 games in Washington and has led at halftime in only 15 of those games. So at a certain point, you know, Rivera is who we thought he was. He is just a mediocre coach. And did you hear, actually, you were at the game with me, did you hear the sideline report after the fact? Like when he came out of the locker room, what he told the reporter?
No, what did he say?
He didn't say anything to the players at halftime. He let the players talk to themselves and work it out amongst themselves.
Huh?
Yeah, let me see if I can find this tweet. He didn't tell the players anything at halftime. He just let them talk it out, and he didn't give a halftime speech or say anything at that point. He just let them talk amongst themselves and see what they could do to figure it out and fix the problem.
Mm,
And I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know how to feel about that, but to
I don't
me,
like it.
Rivera does nothing during the game, right? He just sits there with his arms crossed because Bieniemy's calling the plays on offense and Del Rio's calling it on defense. Here you go. Here's the clip. Let me pull it up.
You're supposed to be a motivator. You're supposed to be a motivator. You're supposed to be able to get the guys' butts in gear, so to speak. And if you didn't say anything, then why should we do anything?
All right, here you go.
I let them talk to each other.
Say to try to rally your guys during the half.
I let them talk to each other. Okay? What guys have got to do to the guys are going to go out on the field. So those things that they talked about.
What did they say?
They talked about doing it for each other more so than anything else.
I let them talk to each other. I mean, to me, you've got a young team. Right? Okay, yeah, you've got some vets and John Allen and Kendall Fuller and Logan Thomas, but you got a young team out here that, to me, are being embarrassed at home for the second week in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You look towards Papa Bear at that point and see if he can give you some type of wisdom. And I don't know if Rivera is this great motivator because he's had 3 winning teams his entire NFL head coaching career. So I don't feel like he is this amazing motivator. I just think that people appreciate him as a man, but I don't feel that he's a good coach. And
Okay.
I actually put a tweet out there in the middle of the game that just had the picture of the scoreboard at halftime saying, I can't wait for the Ron Rivera era to end. And I guess it got picked up by a couple of news stations and this and that. And sorry, I felt this way for a long time. I think my bold prediction before the season started was Rivera's going to get fired midseason and Bieniemy's going to take over. And if there were a time for that to happen, to me, it would be now. But I also don't think that the Josh Harris group is going to make any big moves like that and fire Ron. But what would you do? You're Rally. You own the team now. You just took over. You own the team now.
Oh, look out.
And your team just got boat raced by an 0-14 team.
Well, Ted, as an owner, what I would do is today or tomorrow, Ron Rivera will be in my office. And before I say that, let me say this. I feel as though Ron was brought in to change things, which he did. We were at a very dark spot. We were at a darker spot than where we are now. And he came in and he changed things, and it helped to me in the better. So as an owner now, I would say, hey, looking back on what you did with the organization prior to after Jay Gruden, I feel as though you have helped the organization. You have put him in a positive position, but now you have a leash of 2 games. You have a leash of 2 games, 3 at the most. You want this job, you're gonna have to show me you want this job. And right now, I don't feel that you really want this job. Yeah, you're happy to be here. No doubt about it. Everybody's happy to be here, but you've never been on the hot seat like you are right now. So I don't know what you got to do. I'm not a coach. I'm an owner. So do what you got to do, and I hope to retain you. But ultimately, the fan base, the image of the organization, we get rewarded by wins, not losses. So you got 2 games, sir. 3 at the most. Get out of my office.
See, I can appreciate that because we talked about these next 4 games. You got the Bears, you got the Falcons, you got the Giants, and you got the Eagles. If we're realistically going to make a run for the playoffs, these next 4 games are going to dictate it. you have to win these games because these are, quote unquote, the easier games on your schedule. And I get it, any given Sunday or any given Thursday, but realistically, you have to beat the bad teams and then win some over the good teams. So you and I both gave our records during preseason on what we thought was going to happen. And I'm going down my spreadsheet and I'm thinking 9-8. But I think that we can steal a win versus a good team and get to 10-7. Well, I chalk this one up to a win for us.
Yeah. Yep.
Right now we have to steal 2 wins that I did not see someplace else. Forget the 10-7. So something's got to happen, and it's a long season. There's a lot of football left. Who knows if Tua is still going to be playing for the Dolphins by the time we get to him? Who knows what's going to happen down the road with Wack? And is he actually going to be there week 18 when we play Dallas again? I don't know. So that might be it. But just going based upon what's happening, the part that is just so frustrating is the strength or so-called strength of this team is the defense, or was the defense. And this is from Mitch Tischler. The Commanders are now on pace to give up 544 points on the season, surpassing the 1981 Baltimore Colts at 533 for most points allowed in a single NFL season. You have all of this talent on your team. We talked about Eric Bieniemy. He's new. Del Rio has been here for 4 years. This system has not changed. The only thing different on the defensive side is your secondary coach is gone. He went away, went to a different team. So that and the fact that Rivera said he has more time to spend with the defense, that's the only thing that has changed. And that is what is broken right now. Your defense has given up over 30 points the past 4 games. So I hear you with you have 3 games to prove yourself, because to me, if we lose 2 out of the next 3 games, bye-bye playoffs. I don't see it happening. And then the season is over. I don't think firing Ron right now would do anything. I think we still have a chance to see what Bieniemy has with the season somewhat out of the reach. But to me, Del Rio, I don't know. I talk to Ron and I say, hey, can Jeff Scanina call plays? Coach Z, can he call plays? Your defensive line coach. Do you trust him to take on that type of, ownership? Because I don't know if the players, I don't want to say have given up on Del Rio, but I saw unmotivated football by those guys.
Yeah.
And you've got 4 studs on that front line, right? They finally did what they needed to do with Forbes and they sat him, but it was a game and a half too long. The damage was already done, but then you got St. Juice getting burned. I just feel that the entire defensive scheme is an issue. And if you're not blitzing and you're not bringing more than 4, then why don't you have more help in coverage? Where you see DJ Moore just torching us left and right and just going over the top and beating St. Juice. And okay, one of his touchdowns, you had Fuller try to make a play on the ball and just missed it by a tad bit, and then he just got burned. But the other ones, you got guys getting blown up on double moves, and DJ Moore is their only good wide receiver. I mean, that's the part that just blows my mind.
Made him like an all-star, Pro Bowl bound, man.
But that happens to every time we play somebody. And someone called into B. Mitch and Finley today and said, and I don't watch the TV. Or I watch the TV coverage. I don't listen to the TV coverage. But he said every time you listen to the TV coverage, this player, it's the first time he's did that in a decade. This guy, it's the first time he's had 150 yards. It's like we're the get-right team for everybody, man.
Yep.
And
just like we're looking at them as a win, they're looking at us as, oh, that's a win right there, buddy. The man knows that's a win.
It's hard to actually agree to that, but it's so true because we're sitting here thinking, oh, this Bears game, man, they're 0-14. They're 0-4 right now. They haven't won a game in almost a year. They've got the FBI investigating them. They just traded away today one of their wide receivers. They are basically the old Washington football team, the old
Mhm.
Redskins with all this dysfunction. We're going to crush them. And then they're looking at us like, oh, we're going to eat. Oh, man, we're going to eat well. There is no chance they're going to slow us down. And were you shocked at how many Bears fans there were in the stands and in the stadium?
No. And the reason why I say no is because um, on my rally captain page on Facebook, um, a young lady put, "Oh, there aren't going to be any Bears fans. They're not coming to see their team play. They're 0-4." And I said, "Oh, time out, time out. I can appreciate you saying that. However, we've been really bad, and fans have still made the trek. The difference is when the schedule comes out in May, you start making your reservations in May. So you don't know how your team's going to be, and it's pretty much already paid for, probably, in July, August time frame, whatever have you. So those plans are already set. So no, let's face it, the nation's capital is a great tourist attraction. Why not come to the district and see the sights as well as seeing your team possibly win or lose? So yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. And
And
that's
it's a
just how
holiday weekend. It's a long
exactly.
weekend too.
Yeah, man. So no, I felt that that the number was probably on par the way it should be.
Yeah, there were a lot of Bears fans at my tailgate, and a lot of them were guests of the military that we were hosting, the veterans that we were hosting. So I'm not going to tell
Hmm.
them no, they can't hang out with us. But just walking through the concourse and just hanging out and looking around, I don't know how many people I saw. I felt like it was Halloween because I saw all these guys and basically looking like Mike Ditka with those old Bears sweaters and the fake mustaches and everything, man. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I feel like I saw more Bears fans walking around our concourse than I did Soldier Field when we were out there. I mean, not that we got flooded like the Bills game, but maybe it just stood out so much because we had just got our ass kicked hanging out there. And I mean, everyone is calling, not everyone, a majority of people are calling for Del Rio and Rivera to get fired. And after and it's Friday the 6th at 4 o'clock right now while we're recording this, having, I guess, come off of my don't sleeps and, just getting a chance to react and think about this. Everyone knows, if you listen to this podcast, how I feel about Rivera. I don't
Hmm.
think he should be our coach. I don't want him to be our coach, but I don't think firing him right now is going to put us in the best opportunity to win the next 3 games that we need to win. This is actually what Ron had to say about making changes to his staff, though.
Ron, you mentioned last night that you'll review everything and look to make necessary adjustments. At this point, do you expect that to include any changes to the staff?
No. We've game 5. We've got 12 left to play. There's plenty of football left, and we haven't had an opportunity to finish, working on things that I talked about last night. We still got several things to go through.
But I'm going to say that I would not do anything drastic. But if I am Josh Harris, I am having him, being Rivera, give me his business plan for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How do you fix this?
Hmm.
Because something is wrong.
It's a
Prove
miss.
to me
Yeah.
and tell me what you would do to fix this. And then go from there. And based upon his answer, then we see what happens the next few weeks. Because we've got 10 days before we got to play the Falcons. So if we are going to change something, now would be a good time to do it.
So let me ask you a question. Say you're a player, and you've just, you got your butt kicked by Buffalo. You kind of redeemed yourself against the Eagles, and then you get your butt kicked again, and you're a player. Are you going out to Wegmans grocery shopping, or are you gonna have your girlfriend do it for you? I mean,
Man,
can you
I'm
be
getting
seen around town? I don't know if I can be seen around town, man. I mean,
I'm getting Amazon Fresh delivered, man. I'm just getting that stuff dropped off right at my door because I don't even want them to see my car. I don't
yeah,
want, it's going to be tough to be anywhere
yeah.
around here. And you would think you got a short week. Guess what? The Bears had an even shorter week because they had to travel here, right? But you would think that you would want to play well, not just because you're on TV, but imagine how much more you're getting a mini bye. The coach is going to give you time off at that point after you win this game. You ain't getting no mini bye anymore. Your ass is going to be there. Yep. It's not even full pads. You're just going to be sitting there watching film. Like we talked about it last week. You're going to sit there and you're going to have those toothpicks holding your eyelids open until you soak in all this tape. Because there was actually a quote here from Nikki Javala on one of the players from the Bears just talking about the defense itself. Here you go. This is from Bears guard Tevin Jenkins. Said Washington's defense showed weak boxes and weak rotations. And this is just from watching film. And I quote, like safety rotations, false rotations, all of that. They'd go like cover two, then it was like a false cover two, and they'd show one. One comes back, fills the hole, fills the gap. A couple times they were trying to give false looks, and it seemed like some of the guys either weren't aware or they were just being lazy about making the shift, and that led to some really open plays for us. If the Bears guard is talking about this, best believe that their coaches showed it to them during film session. So instead of just watching tape on the Falcons, you guys need to watch tape on yourselves and your tendencies and what the hell are you doing? And I've been doing podcasting and TV stuff and things like this for a long time now. And I go back and I hated doing it in the past, but I would air check myself. The first time you and I did a show that we never released to anybody, it was just a dry run between you and me talking and just trying to get the feel of each other. And I'm kind of glad that that thing didn't get released because we're going back and air checking. You know, I definitely had some slip ups and I had a couple of crutches that I was using. And, you know, we're just going back and forth and we're just trying to build that rapport. These Commanders players, they got to air check themselves. Don't just look at your opponent. What the hell are you doing wrong? What have you been showing to the other team? And you watch that movie Invincible?
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to shut it off before the Eagles actually win. But, you know, that's just me. But there's a point in the movie where one of the offensive linemen is telling Mark Wahlberg's character, for those that haven't seen it, like, look at the guy's knuckles. When his knuckles turn white, you can tell he's going to do this or he's going to do that. Yeah. And he's looking and he's realizing, oh, damn, here he comes. It's just going to happen. It's that stuff. And you don't have to be the most physically fit athlete like Jamin Davis, but if you just know what's happening and what's coming at you, it ain't going to be that big a deal. Exactly, those tendencies. And Cody Barton, you mentioned it, man. He had 100% of the snaps. Jamin had 51% of the snaps. Cody had 8 tackles. Jamin had 3. Right? You know, what do you do? I feel right now we are paying as a fan base for the sins of Ron Rivera, the general manager. He handpicked these players that just aren't good players. Cody Barton,
wetting the bed.
Yeah. Cody would not play on another team, in my opinion, as a starter. Jamin probably would, but he's maybe not in the right system for him. I don't know. But yet, you got guys like Khalid Hudson just playing special teams. He's not contributing, but yet all training camp, they were talking about how phenomenal the kid was, but you're not giving him an opportunity. And then you're letting young kids fail on prime time and get torched and burned. Then you finally bench him. Then you put Danny Johnson in, and Danny was hungry. You saw him be physical with his wide receivers he was matched up against. I just, as a talent evaluator, I think that's where we're missing big time.
Yeah, we're missing that. One of the big things back in the day, everybody said Scott McLuhan, you know, that he was a great Italian evaluator. And who do we have? I don't think we have. At least I don't know the guy's name. I'm sure we've got somebody besides Ron, but Ron has the final say. But who do we have?
That's the problem right there. He's got the final say. You got the Mayhews. You got the Martys, Marty Herney and Martin Mayhew, but they report to Ron.
Yeah, and if you feel safe, you'll continue doing what you're doing. You, in your mind, you'll make those safe picks. But sometimes you gotta go out on the line and find that beast, you know, who may not be as sound character that you may want, but he plays hell of a football. I don't know. Um, we as the only thing that I will agree with Ron is that we've got a lot of football left, and things can turn around. 4 games from now, if we were winning, we will have forgotten about this conversation. But if we're losing, it's going to stay in the forefront. And that's why I said he's got 2 to 3 games, 4 at the max, 4 at the max,
In
I believe.
3 games will be the Eagles back here.
Back home. Yep.
And guess who's going to take over our stadium?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Commanders fans, the ones that were still on the fence that felt like, hey, let's come out and have a good time just because it's a cool thing to do now, they ain't buying tickets to that Eagles game after this one.
Mm-mm.
So if we get embarrassed against Philly after playing Philly tight up there and our stadium gets flooded, I can see them finally doing something. I can see whether it's not necessarily Ron, whether it's forcing Ron to chop Del Rio, but those two are boys. So
Somebody's got to fall.
Yeah.
Someone's got to fall on the sword.
Yeah. You need a scapegoat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Someone is going to have to eat. Just, what was it? Scott Turner was the scapegoat for this poor offense, even though Ron picked the players and Ron told Scott to stop calling certain plays. But the offense, they made adjustments, right? Did you see that they actually went jumbo in your end zone?
Mm-hmm.
They brought that lineman in. I feel like Bieniemy's listening to us, man. They brought that extra lineman in to help block down there in the end zone. The problem was the Bears offense scored on every single possession they had. They didn't punt one single time in the first half. And we actually went split back on 3rd and 1. I have never seen us run a split back formation. Problem was our offensive line got blown up and we lost. It was 3rd and 1. We lost a single yard. So it went to 4th and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a couple of times, man, where we weren't completely out of this game. We were down 2 scores, right? And it was 4th and 2, and Rivera decides to go for a field goal. You're still down 2 scores, and you're down. Okay, you're down by 16 points. I get it. So it's a touchdown and 2 2-point conversions and another touchdown, whatever. But they keep calling this man Riverboat Ron. I don't think he's been Riverboat Ron his entire time here.
No, he's been Tugboat Tony. That's what he's been. That's what I mean. No, bro. Where's the gambling? Now, here's the thing. What we do know, Ted, is this. He came in with that moniker, and now he's not doing it. One thing that we know is people start changing a little bit. I guarantee you, if we're put in those positions against Atlanta, you'll see him going for it because he feels the pressure that he needs to. He's got to have a spark, some shape, form, or fashion. So best believe we're going to be pulling some things out of the hat against Atlanta in that dome, and it's going to be loud as who knows what there.
Oh, yeah. They're undefeated at home so far, and they got the Texans this week, so who knows how that's going to be. I mean, but they've got, guess what, a running quarterback, whether it's Ritter or whether it's going to be Heineke. Yep. So they're not going to be easy. And we'll get into them next week when we preview that game. We're not going to do a show for our listeners on Monday. This is your Monday show. We'll do one next week on Wednesday, preview that game coming up. But what do you do to fix the defense? Because to me, that's what's broken.
Well, first thing I'd do is go to BAM, books $1 million, and get
That's still around.
How to be a defensive coordinator for dummy. I mean, that's what I would do. The first thing. No, on a serious note, I feel as though you've got to start switching some guys out. You gotta. We always hear these guys are pros. They're pros, so they're on your squad for a reason. And if someone isn't carrying their weight, or is having maybe a difficult time carrying their weight, then you got to put somebody else in. And this is the time in practice to get them. Like we said, it's a mini bye. You've got a lot of days to prepare. Start filtering somebody else in to let them get a taste of what it's going to be like, so that you can have confidence in them to put them in the game. It needs to change. You got to change something. You what's the definition of insanity? And we hear it all the time, So change something up. And I'm okay. And I hate to say this. I'm okay. Like Philadelphia, I'm okay with losing. How do you lose? Everybody was okay with how we lost in Philly. If we start bringing in younger guys or guys that we haven't seen before, and they're right there with them, I'm okay with that because you've got to find the mesh. And the good thing is, we still do have a lot of football left. We really do. And now's the time to start saying, all right, man, okay, Forbes, I got to sit you. It's time for somebody else. We thought that you were going to be the man. And for the most part, we see what your skill set is. It's time to bring somebody else in. Barton, Cleek Hudson. Hey, it's time to rotate out. It's time to go off of ability, not name. If you know what I mean. And that's what it sounds like. Sounds like we're going off of name versus ability. And even if it means Sweat, Chase. Well, actually, our guys, Obata. I mean, he's been hurt, so I don't even know who we can even replace. But if it
they're
came down to
eligible
that,
now. They're eligible to come
okay,
back now. Yeah.
okay. So if it means switching somebody out, you gotta figure out how to make the puzzle come together, put the pieces together to get this puzzle together, man. Because you're gonna be gone, and maybe they already know it. Maybe they already know it. It's not a secret.
No, Rivera's got to know that this is his last season and that they're cleaning house next year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to get a contract. I actually had someone tweet me, and this is my boy. I'm not trying to speak ill of him, but my man Stalker Corn said that we should extend Ron Rivera after the Eagles lost. So he said a bunch of other stuff that said made sense to me. It's like, you had me until you said extend Ron Rivera. There is zero chance that man deserves an extension. And he's got to know he's a dead man walking at this point. And I know I pissed some people off when I said that last time. You guys need to stop being sensitive. I understand he fought back from cancer and everything else. I'm just talking about from a coaching perspective. He is a lame duck coach. They are not going to keep him around. This ownership group is going to clean house. I just hope that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to Bieniemy, because I feel that he could truly help this franchise and he can help this team and he makes adjustments. But he is handicapped by Ron Rivera's ineptitude as a GM. But did you see Magic Johnson's tweet?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it. But here's something else. You say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I hear that a lot. If by chance, you got to remember, who did Bieniemy bring in? He brought in Wiley. Wiley really hasn't been playing as well as everybody thought that he would. So Bieniemy's going to have to say, all right, guys, yeah, I brought him in, but I think we need a new talent evaluator, Ted.
Oh yeah, big time. We definitely do. We need a GM. We don't have a GM.
Yeah.
A true GM. But
yeah,
I hear
that's
you.
the
Bieniemy vouched for Wiley.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, he's between a rock and a hard place, because Wiley was one of the only free agent tackles on the market. The other guy we could not afford, and they weren't going to spend the money on him. So he needed to get somebody. The issue is, you drafted a first-round corner in Forbes. You drafted a second-round corner in Quan Martin, right? So your second-round pick is flat out not playing. And coach said it himself, well, he's got a lot of competition in front of him. Then why'd you draft his ass? If he's not going to touch the field, why did you draft the DB that's only helping on special teams, where you know that you need offensive line help? Right.
That's the issue that we've all had. I mean, we were okay with the pick. We were okay with it. We didn't like it. We were okay with it when we said, wait a minute, why couldn't you have gotten one of these studs from somewhere to become an offensive lineman?
Yeah. And then you draft Stromberg, who at that point is a center, but you just signed Nick Gates to a long-term contract. And Stromberg also plays guard. You know you have your game plan for Sadiq Charles to be your left guard of the future, and you just moved Cosme into right guard because he couldn't play right tackle. But where you've been weak this entire time, because Charles Leno is getting up there in age at left tackle, and at right tackle you don't have anybody because you just moved Cosme in. You don't focus on that in the draft at all. So their inability to evaluate talent and plan for the future has hurt us as a franchise for years now. And unfortunately, we're going to be paying for the sins of Ron Rivera, the GM, for I want to say a decade after he's gone.
Ooh.
And it's the same thing we had with Vinny Serrato, where we paid for the sins of Vinny for years, because how many first-round picks did he waste on talent? I mean, just Malcolm Mitchell, just all the wide receivers that just never panned out here.
Yeah.
And your first round, second round, and third round picks have to contribute to your team.
They got to hit.
And they're not.
Hit. Yeah. They have to hit.
It's frustrating. And this is actually for those of our listeners that didn't see this or hear this and aren't local. Magic Johnson sent this out last night. Said, tonight, the Commanders played with no intensity or fire. We didn't compete in the first half and got down 27-3 heading into halftime. It was too big of a hole to climb out of, and that is why we ended up losing 40-20. And his box is right behind my seats. So people were just staring at me the entire time. There's an old man that sits behind me, good dude. I couldn't remember his name right. He probably won't let me say his name in the pod. But he's just sitting there with his binoculars looking at Magic. And in the box, there was nobody around him. And I don't know if there were people there ahead of time, but basically the entire game, he was just sitting there angry by himself. And I'm happy to see that, because to me, that gives me faith that he is, even though he is a small part of this, that he isn't going to settle for this. And then he's going to talk to the other guys like, we got to do something. I'm not part of this laughing stock, and we got to fix it. And I'm right there with you, man. One thing that has always bothered me about the NFL is that they put too much onus on draft position, not actual play, because they want to prove themselves right. I drafted this guy ahead of this guy, and I've got to prove that it was the right call. So they'll play people ahead of other guys that might have more heart and more hustle than guys that have more God-given ability but aren't using it, right?
That's wrong when it comes down to, at the end of the day, what you're playing for, wins and losses.
Yeah, amen. And put Jeremy Reeves out there. The guy's a freaking all-pro, and bust his ass. And yes, bad example because he got hurt this past week. But, when Forbes was getting torched, put him out there. And this is actually what Ron had to say about kids learning on the field.
Whether we're talking about Emmanuel or anybody else, what's that line now that you're 5 games into the year and having lost 3 in a row, of letting the kids play through mistakes like you talked about last week versus, hey, we got to get this win. We can't sit here and nurse somebody through some of their problems right now.
Well, I think doing what we did, with Emmanuel was kind of the indicator that we can't go through this anymore. Now it's time. We have to continue to put the guys out there that we believe are gonna get it done the right way.
What changed from letting Forbes get torched against AJ Brown, then you decide to bench him this week? Did you get a text message from Josh saying, do something about this? Because I don't think that's what it was.
Get that kid out of here.
But now it's okay to take them out and do this. And man, I'm right there with you. They've got to get other guys, whether it's Obata, whether it's Reeves, whether it's Danny Johnson, somebody, because there is apparently some kind of miscommunication happening in our secondary where these guys are just not on the same page. And okay, Forbes getting torched against AJ Brown, you're not giving him help, shame on you. St. Juice getting beat by DJ Moore, shame on him. I'm sorry. He's got no one. He bit on that double move. That first long pass he caught was just a quick double move, and he just bit on it. And I don't remember which reporter it was, but they said players making these plays and just missing, is it have to do with Del Rio really reinforcing the need for turnovers? And at a certain point, they need to reinforce the need to get stops over turnovers. The turnovers will come. Don't force it, but you at least got to stop the damn guys.
Yeah. Did you see what the rotation was as far as the front four? I really didn't see it. I was all in the middle of it, so I missed a lot of that technical stuff. I missed out. But I mean, do you think that the guys, as Ron said, were gassed?
No. I don't feel that they were. No, looking at it right now, John Allen played 89% of the snaps, 57 snaps out of 64. Duran played 91%. Chase played 89%. Sweat played, shockingly, 75%. And Ridgeway would rotate in when they went to their Cinco package. So there wasn't a ton of rotation. You had Anthony Anderson come in and Casey Toohill come in, but they played, 25% and 9% of snaps. I don't feel that the guys were gassed at all. They weren't getting home. They weren't getting pressure. And it's not like Fields was dancing around the pocket. They were just getting blocked. And maybe because it was a Thursday night and it was a short week or whatever it is, but they had backups on their offensive line. I mean, they just, you're thinking, we'll finally get to them. But no, they couldn't. And then the Bears only had 2 sacks all season. And what? They had 3 on Sam? No. How many? They had 5 on Sam. And they only had 2 the first 4 games.
The first 4 games, yeah. So we are the get right team.
Yeah. It appears to be that way, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, who needs to watch more film, in your opinion, for us to actually bounce back against Atlanta?
The entire defense. And I'm not just gonna say one particular person. The coaching staff and the entire defense needs to watch more film. The offense is going to get there, I believe. I mean, we're stuck with what we got. We're stuck with our offensive linemen, but that defense, you guys have got to be the ones that carry us, and we've said that. We've said that, and we're going to say it over and over again, but it's a miss right now. And so you've got to figure out a way to get this thing done. So JDR, you've got to figure out who to put in the position. And if it means ruffling some feathers, then ruffle them. I shouldn't say head coach. You're the defensive coordinator. You know what you're looking for. Get it done.
You think JDR's pissed that Bieniemy comes in here where Jack's been here and he gets the assistant head coach title?
I would hope not.
But just as a man, knowing that you were an actual head coach and you bring in this other guy and you promote him to assistant head coach, not from within, and I've been here having your back this entire time, Ron. I've been here while you're going through chemo, running everything. And you give this other guy an assistant head coach.
As I said, your body of work says if you should get promoted or not. And right now, the body of work says no. We need to bring someone else in with new blood. Just like the owners are going to do possibly next season or earlier. They realize that this is stagnant pond water, and we've got to have a fresh supply come in and change it up. And you know what happens with pond water? Mosquitoes start coming, all the infestation, all the nastiness. And before it gets to that point, change it up. I don't know who it's going to be, but they've got to change it up. You're going to have to change it up from the fan base aspect of things as well. Because I was listening to B. Mitch, and the guy says, you know what, I'm a season ticket holder, and I bought in, and I bought tickets. Well, now I'm not going back to another game. I'm going to sell them.
Yeah, I heard him call in. I actually wanted to reach out to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to sell them now because I'm not putting up with it.
He's not even going to sell them to make money. He was going to sell them just because he didn't want to go anymore. And even he got enough to take his woman out to dinner. Well, not that he wants to get all of his loot back.
Yeah, he said he's not going to try to sell them to get rich, but he's just going to sell them, and any profit that he makes, like you said, go to the movies or out to dinner or whatever have you. And that's how right now a lot of the fan base is. They feel that way. Once again, the guy who sits next to me, I had Bills fans week before, and now I had 2 Bears fans sitting next to me.
It's a Thursday night, so I don't blame him as much there. Because it might be tough for people. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know his job situation and this and that. I mean, I took the day off. I basically took the entire week off. If my boss is listening, please stop listening to the podcast. And I didn't actually say that. But, I mean, it is tough for people to get out there on a primetime Thursday game.
I get it. But this guy does it all the time. And who am I? The thing is, I can't tell him what he should and shouldn't do with his money. So I'm just making a point that eventually the fan base is going to turn.
Oh yeah,
And,
the ones that came back are going to leave again.
Yep. And they're right now, like that gentleman, they're on the edge. Us guys who've been there and seen this many times, we'll still be there. And even still, a lot of us are saying, nah, I'm not putting any up more money for this anymore. I'll move on. But the newer people are like, what the hell did I sign up for? So,
or it's the same old skins, the same old team, that primetime curse, and I, just like you said, I'm not going to tell anyone how to spend their hard-earned money or their free time. What you do, what I do, it's not for everybody.
Oh, no.
We just hope that people eventually will come back at their time when it's right for them, and that this team will actually give them something to cheer for. And I'm right there with it that the defense, just Jack Del Rio, all of them, to me, that defensive line, just every single person on that side of the ball needs to watch more film. And I need my offensive line to sit there and watch old tapes of the glory days with the Hogs, just to give them some type of motivation and say, hey, this is what this franchise built its Super Bowl records from. We had 3 different quarterbacks, but this line was what actually got us there. Maybe something to motivate these guys, because I just did not see any type of motivation at all from any of them. And it was just frustrating, because I don't blame people, man. It's an all-day affair. You spend your time out there. You spend your money out there. I just bought my tickets to go to Atlanta, and we're going out here and we're supporting this team.
Yeah.
But they put up an effort like that. And you sit there and you look in your rearview mirror when you're pulling out of your parking space, and you see yourself and you wonder, what the hell did I just do this for? I could be home by now, just sitting on my couch and hanging out and watching Loki season 2 instead of this.
So interesting enough, when you're saying that, I had a young lady who was sitting to the right of me. My son was with me this game, so I had a young lady who was sitting. It was me, my son, and then this other young lady. She goes, "I'll be damned. I just bought a new 80-inch TV or whatever she was saying. I got a big ATV at home. I could have been at home watching this nonsense. Why did I spend my money on this?" And it's true, man. It's true.
Yeah.
So it's not for the faint of heart. It really isn't.
No, it's not, especially being a fan of this team. But all I'm going to say to those listeners that are saying it's the same old team, nah, it's not. And I said this before. We already won this season because Dan is gone. The ownership group has not had a chance to make any improvements with the on-the-field product. It's going to take time. They tore the Flyers down. They tore the Nets down. Magic said it himself. He builds winners. They will build a winner here for us. Just give them some time, and it's going to happen. They took over too late.
Stay the course.
Amen. But who gets to wear your rally chain this week?
Well, believe it or not, Ted, I did something that I don't normally do. I said that the players only get to wear the chain. But so this is a 2-part answer. Jamison Crowder gets to wear the chain because, to me, he did a great job in returning punts. So Jamison Crowder, that's a bright spot, if you will. Jamison Crowder. And I also
He had a couple catches, too.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, see, okay, that brings up a good point. Obviously, somebody wasn't doing something on the receiver side, and we needed some speed, possibly, and we brought them in. So they are thinking outside of the box. Let's make it happen. I also allowed Major Tutty to wear the chain. So Major Tutty and Jamison Crowder. Don't do me like that, man. Dang.
Julie's a friend. You let Julie wear the chain last time when we were in Chicago. Or were we in Chicago when she got to wear the chain? I can't remember where it was, but you let her wear the chain on the field one time. And you took a picture, and I don't think that game went too well for us.
Oh,
so,
what are you saying?
I'm saying, did you see Tutty with his hat off? Where he was just I'll send you, I'll put the pictures in the YouTube. Tutty didn't have his helmet on. he just had like a little tiny mini fro up top. It's kind of weird. He should
Maybe I
always
did see
have his
that.
helmet on.
I think I
But
did see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a bad look. All I'm saying is when a non-player wears your rally chain, I don't think it ends it well for our team, man. Because I'm almost
We lose.
positive when Julie wore it last time, we lost.
We took an L.
And
Yeah.
this time we got boat raced and they won for the first time in 346 days.
So you blame the
So-
captain now. You blame the captain for letting somebody. Okay, I'll take the weight. I told you the captain goes down with the ship. So hey, I'll go down to the bottom of the sea. Be with SpongeBob.
All I'm gonna say is when we're in Atlanta, don't let anyone else wear that chain.
No,
If we're hanging
no.
out and you see Magic, I mean, I don't even care, man. You can't have anyone else wear that chain. I'm gonna have to snatch it and run across the field.
So you telling me that if Irvin Johnson says, "Man, I've seen you and heard about you. I would love to don the chain," I gotta say, in Matumbo voice, "No, no, no, Magic Johnson."
Well, you tell him you can wear the chain if I get a box for a game.
He's gonna say, "Let's make it happen, Captain."
The win's too important, man. You can't let him wear it.
Yeah, I got you. It is. So you heard it here first. No one else gets to even attempt to put it on. So
Unless they're a player. But for me,
yeah,
my rally chain goes to all those fans that came out there on a Thursday night in horrible rush hour traffic to sit through that ass whooping. And from a player perspective, Logan Thomas. Logan had 9 catches, 77 yards, and a tutty. I mean, he has come back strong after that concussion, and dude's a baller. So it's just good to see him out there.
Well, hopefully, man, we've got roughly 12 days to get our arse in gear, and I'm really hoping that we can, as my old coach Madura would say, Texas boy, we'll have to light a fire underneath your butt to get things going. So let's light a fire underneath their butt to get some things going so that we can go into Atlanta and continue to have the Mercedes-Benz Dome named FedEx Field Southwest. Let's do it. I hear the music playing in the background, which lets me know that we are bringing this episode to a close. And shout out to everyone that I talked to in the parking lot that says that they're a listener. We really appreciate it. You guys, it means a lot to know that we're followed by so many people and so many people listen to us. We really appreciate that. So my hat goes off to you. Remember, guys, we may have taken this L, but even in your worst L, you continue to rep it hard or don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted, we're out.